An apology needs to be heartfelt, not just words.
Tonight, the RCMP apologized for mishandling their investigation into the death of 22-year-old Amber Tuckaroo. But her family says that apology doesn't mean much.
Half of the families that we serve are from the Indigenous community, and we honor and respect them and their traditions.
A funeral home in Ontario is offering traditional services for families whose loved ones pass away.
Some of the kids can't skate, and by Friday they're ripping around, so that's just confidence building.
And summer hockey. Kids in the Yukon are lacing up their skates to learn from the pros. Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. The RCMP K Division in Alberta formally apologized to the family of Amber Tuckaroo yesterday in Edmonton. After going missing, Amber's body was found in 2012. Her murderer is still at large. An independent review into the police handling of the case concluded the RCMP failed in their investigation. APTN's Chris Stewart has more.
It was a day long coming, said Vivian Tuckaroo. Her daughter Amber went missing in 2010, just after arriving near Edmonton after flying in from Fort McMurray. She hitchhiked to Edmonton and was not seen again. Her remains were found 2 years later. On July 25th, the RCMP officially apologized for how the Leduc RCMP division handled her case. They dismissed the family's request to put her on the missing persons report, saying she could be out partying. After convincing the RCMP to finally put her on the report, they took her off, with no evidence why they should. It took the family another month for her to get back on. The police also destroyed her personal belongings when she was taken off the missing persons report.
We agree with the Civilian Review and Complaints Commission that in 2010, our Leduc Detachment's initial missing person investigation was not our best work and was not in line with our established practices, procedures, and guidelines. At the beginning of this investigation, the RCMP was not the police service we strive to be. On behalf of the RCMP, I am truly sorry.
He says new recruits will be trained more in how to handle missing persons cases. He says some members from the Leduc Detachment no longer work for the RCMP.
It's been a long 9 years. And the killer's still out there. But like April Eve said, we're never giving up. You will be caught. And my girl will have justice.
Before the event was over, Deputy Commissioner Curtis Zlbaki left, saying he had other meetings to attend. This did not go over well with Amber's family.
An apology needs to be heartfelt, not just words. You know what I mean? See, look again, they just proved again. They're just getting up and leaving. Next appointment, right? I mean, they're the ones apologizing, but yet they can get up and walk away. What does that say?
With the murder still unsolved, the family has put out a $5,000 reward for information leading to Amber's killer. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
After a series of meetings held in Montreal today, Kanesatake Grand Chief Serge Simon said that he will be effectively cutting ties with the Oka mayor. Simon demanded an apology for derogatory comments made in the throes of a land dispute, but the mayor is refusing to back down. Lindsay Richardson reports.
Following an urgent call to both the federal and provincial governments, the Kanesatake Grand Chief attended a trilateral meeting here today at the Premier's office in hopes of addressing the persistent stalemate between the Mohawk community and the neighboring municipality of Oka. Serge Simon met with stakeholders from the provincial and federal governments to discuss tensions and problematic comments made by Oka Mayor Pascal Quevillon, calling it a place of illegal dumping, contaminated water, and cigarette shacks, for example. Simon says he's still waiting an apology, even saying he was willing to sit in on discussions today only if the mayor admitted fault. Meanwhile, on the way to his own closed-door meeting, Quevillon told reporters he may have made some politically incorrect comments, but doesn't know for sure which ones. He also says he does not plan on publicly apologizing for this or for protecting his community, arguing they feel like they're taken hostage by land claim issues. Mark Miller, today representing the federal government, said he didn't expect a historical breakthrough during the meeting, but that it's become clear that both parties will not likely overcome this disagreement. Here's what he had to say.
It's very important to have truthful information so that both communities can digest it and come to opinions as to what it is. The false information is very concerning for both federal and provincial governments. And second, that these discussions are held, and you've all heard the exchange of words that have happened in the last week, that these exchange of words, these dialogues, even in front of reporters, are done in the utmost respect, because we know we have learned from our lessons in the past.
The two parties did not meet face-to-face today, nor do they plan to, but they do seem to agree that this issue will require monitoring and possibly intervention by representatives from both the federal and provincial governments moving forward. Now, of course, we'll have more on this story as it develops. Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Montreal.
It started out with 2 young men reported missing in northern British Columbia. Then bodies in burned out vehicles started turning up along remote roadways across the western provinces. The 2 men are now charged with murder, and police are searching for them in northern Manitoba. Our colleagues with CTV News bring us up to speed.
A flood of firepower and a show of force. Because somewhere in this rugged, desolate wilderness, Mounties believe these 2 teenage triple murder suspects are hiding out.
And we can now confirm that there have been 2 established and corroborated sightings of the suspects in the Gillam area.
Trouble is, that was 3 days ago. The same day police say the suspects torched this SUV and ran off.
There have also been no reported stolen vehicles.
The trail began some 10 days ago with the double murder of China Deese and her boyfriend Lucas Fowler, found dead in a ditch along BC's Alaska Highway. 4 days later, a second discovery to the southwest near Deese Lake, a burning camper truck police say belonged to the suspects. And not far away, the body of botanist Leonard Dick of Vancouver. Then, by Sunday, Cam McLeod and Brarish Migelski had jumped 2 provinces east to Saskatchewan. And then a day later, the 2 confirmed sightings in Manitoba and that burning SUV outside the tiny town of Gillam.
My kids are at home scared. They're scared of what's going on in town. And
actually grabbed their guns and had their guns loaded by their bed.
And while police swarm the streets and the wild beyond, hoping to find the pair before anyone else gets hurt,
we're a few days behind, but that doesn't mean that we can't catch up.
It's left a hanging sense of dread over what comes next.
Having them here makes you realize that something bad has come here, something very, very serious.
David Molko, CTV News.
Still in northern Manitoba, wildfires have forced 140 First Nation people from their homes, with that number expected to climb.
Our volunteers jumped into action right away. They set up a reception center. They helped to evacuate the people.
The blaze was caused by 11 small fires, forcing smoke into Marcel Colombe First Nation. Canadian Red Cross is assessing next steps in getting the evacuees settled 300 kilometers southeast of the community. Traditional funerals are now being offered in a northern Ontario community. That story and more still to come. Here's a look at Saturday's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, sunny and 31 for Fredericton, 28 in Halifax. More rain for Nain with a high of 17, 28 and rain for Happy Valley, Goose Bay. 32 is the high in Montreal under sunny skies, 30 for Saguenay. Rain and 31 for Toronto, Sarnia and Windsor. 28 under sunny skies in Thunder Bay, showers, and 27 for Sioux Lookout. 10 with rain for Churchill, 27 under the sun for Puckatawagan. Sunny and 30 for Winnipeg, Gimli, Dauphin, and Brandon. Sunny and 31. Welcome back. A group of artists from Nunavut are gathering inspiration in Winnipeg with a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The Winnipeg Art Gallery opened its vault to members from a 4-person collective in the Inuit fashion world. Brittany Hobson has more.
A walk through history. That's what members from Arviat-based Hanani Design got to experience 1,000 kilometers away from home when they visited the Winnipeg Art Gallery's vaults.
And we couldn't turn that down, especially getting a chance to get into the vault and see all this artwork that hasn't been seen by so many people.
Tucked away in a section of the gallery not visible to the public, the WAG houses thousands of artworks and artifacts. Some can't even be photographed. This is the first time Nooks Lindell is getting to see the pieces, and it's a special experience.
It's really kind of close to home because a lot of the people are related to us. We saw our grandmother's work. We saw Paula, who's part of Hinani too. We saw her mothers and her grandmothers and her grandfathers.
Hanani Design is a 4-person collective of artists and creators specializing in Inuit clothing. They started in 2016 with basic T-shirts displaying the word Inuk on the front. Since then, they've expanded to include other Inuit-inspired designs.
Yeah.
Lindell says clothing has always been important to people of the North.
But the Inuit, there's like a rule you're not allowed to brag. So the kind of way you did it was through your clothing. You had very well-made clothing that showed you had a good hunter that could provide the skins, and then you had a good seamstress who could sew it.
Today's visit is stirring up some inspiration for a new project. Hanani is teaming up with the gallery to create an exclusive line to launch next year when the Inuit Art Center opens. Lori Tagona says the line will combine new and old designs.
And so we're trying to reach a medium where it's something that our generation would want to wear, but still we're respecting the original artist, so doing it tastefully. Cultures are constantly evolving, and we're evolving. Like, we're keeping Inukjuak alive.
The chance to honor artists of the past is what drives the group to continue creating designs Inuit can be proud of. Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
The death of a loved one is a difficult time for many families, and many Indigenous communities have their own traditions and customs, but don't always have access to them. One funeral home in Thunder Bay is hoping to change that.
Thunder Bay is a known service hub for many surrounding First Nations. This includes funeral home services when a loved one passes away. Jenkins Funeral Home says it's a time when clients should be able to practice their own traditions.
And so we're just trying to offer as many services that we can to suit the needs of the families that we serve. Again, half of the families that we serve are from the Indigenous community, and we honor and respect them and their traditions.
The Sacred Fire is just one of those services that the funeral home is now offering. Often families will hold wakes and services in the city before taking their loved one back home to bury. Other times they bury them in the city. Helper Jerry Baxter from White Sand First Nation spoke about the significance of ceremony.
As Anishinaabe, we offer in many different ways, and one of the ways is that sacred fire. It is comforting to know that a person in mourning that could come here and sit with the fire and give that hurt to the fire, that energy will take care of that hurt, that loss.
Funeral assistant Tiffany Byers says they also offer smudging in their chapel and 4-day wakes.
We see a lot of families that suffer, that can't continue the way that their traditions are, so it's nice to be able to offer that back to the families.
Leon Jourdain from Lac LaCroix lost 2 of his nieces recently. He says he commends the funeral home.
It gives respect back to the people. It heals the injured spirit that has been injured for hundreds of years because of the denial of our own method of how we bury people, of how we send them off to the other world.
He says it's damaging when families don't have access to their own practices.
It makes it more difficult for them to believe that their loved one is at rest and has gone to the place where our people go.
The funeral home required a special permit and blessing for the sacred fire, which will be available 24 hours a day to anyone who needs it.
They need it to heal. This is part of their culture. They need it to feel whole again.
Willow Fiddler, APTN National News, Thunder Bay.
Some current and former pro hockey players are hitting the ice with youth in Yukon. That story's coming up after the break. Here's a look at the rest of Saturday's weather forecast. Picking back up in northern Alberta, 19 with showers for high level and Peace River. 30 in Lethbridge under sunny skies, 32 in rain in Medicine Hat. Showers and 18 for Tofino, rain and 24 in Vancouver. Sunny skies and 20 for Dease Lake, rain and 20 for Fort Nelson. 21 under the sun in Old Crow, 20 for Whitehorse and Watson Lake. 19 in showers in Fort Liard and Trout Lake, 16 for Yellowknife. 11 is the high in Sax Harbor, 13 in Paulituck. 10 with rain for Baker Lake, 7 with showers in Cambridge Bay, 13 under sunny skies in Resolute. Welcome back. Kids are lacing up their skates for hockey in July. That's because the Yukon First Nations Hockey Association is hosting their annual hockey camp in Whitehorse this week. And they've invited a few special guests. APTN's Chris McIntyre has more.
My mom had to wake me up this morning. I was pretty tired.
117 young hockey players and their families traveled to Whitehorse to attend the 17th annual Learn to Lead Hockey Camp, a 5-day camp where players get the chance to be mentored by professional hockey players. Aaron Asham is a coach at the camp. Asham played in the NHL for 15 years and it's his 5th time in the Yukon. He enjoys being a role model for the kids, but that doesn't mean he goes easy on them.
We just run them through the drills. We get them up in the morning. I think we're on the ice 9 o'clock and run them through drills, teach them, trying to teach them the proper ways, how to stick handle, proper ways, how to take a stride. And so far so good. Everyone seems to be having a good time, and a lot of tired kids.
Blues to the goal line, yellows on the back boards, please.
Wasey Rabbit and Brandon Montour are also coaches at the camp.
Keep your eyes up. Just watch what they're doing.
Wasey has played hockey all over the world, and Brandon plays for the Buffalo Sabres. Their goal is to teach skills on the ice, but off the ice as well.
Some of the kids can't skate, and by Friday they're ripping around, so that's just confidence building, and then they bring that into everyday life. And here I try them to learn some structure, and obviously bringing from what I taught into their everyday life in school, respecting their teachers, respecting their classmates, and respecting themselves most of all. Eyes up, eyes up. Awesome. Awesome, eyes up, perfect.
I hope some kids here, want to strive to be in the NHL or, play competitive hockey, or even if it's not hockey, it's, something else, and, kind of learn from us and, what we have to say, and, kind of take, even if it's just a little bit, take a little bit and, kind of, move forward with that.
Ryan Aiken is from Dawson City, and he's been playing hockey ever since he learned how to skate. He's been coming to these camps for years and hopes to one day play for the NHL.
It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. I've been doing it for 6 years. It takes a lot of hard work. You gotta show up to practice on time. You actually have to try. You work hard, and then you can get like this.
Chris McIntyre, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Still with hockey, Member 2 First Nation in Cape Breton will be hosting the 2021 Telus Cup. CTV's Ryan McDonald now with what that will mean for the Mi'kmaq community.
It was the worst-kept sports secret in town, but it was still music to the ears of this standing-room-only crowd on Member 2 First Nation today. The community will be hosting the Telus Cup National Midget Hockey Championship in 2021.
This is second to none. Just by coming here and seeing the hotel beside the arena, beside the food vendors, everything is in place here.
With a hotel and restaurant connected by pedway at a modern sports complex with 2 ice pads that's just a couple of years old, this Mi'kmaq community had all of the bells and whistles to win over the selection committee.
Last year we held the National Aboriginal Championships here, which had 20 teams, so this obviously we did a great job there, and I think that helped us in the bid process here to bring back a national championship.
The last time the tournament was held in Nova Scotia was 22 years ago in New Glasgow, when it was called the Air Canada Cup. 2 years ago, the Cape Breton West Islanders became the only Atlantic Canadian team ever to win the event, one that's seen future NHLers, including Sidney Crosby, suit up over the years.
They know that they're being watched by every scout and every team on the go, and that's the goal of most of these young players, to make it to the NHL.
Players on the host team, the Sydney Rush, are expecting big crowds.
I'm sure you'll have people that haven't came out to watch our games, and they'll be out there in the rink, and it'll really bring us together as a community.
While Member 2 and all of its amenities are being touted as the main reason the bid was successful, the hope is that everyone in town for the tournament will be spending their money elsewhere too, resulting in millions of dollars in spin-offs.
There's going to be a lot of visitors to your city, and they're not just going to spend their time in the arena. They're going to spend their time in hotels and restaurants, seeing what Cape Breton has to offer.
The Telus Cup is set for April 19th to 25th, 2021. Ryan McDonald, CTV News on the Member 2 First Nation.
Yesterday we introduced you to 9-year-old Bella Morisseau. She wrote an award-winning speech on Treaty 6 called Honoring the Treaties that will be turned into a book later this year. Today we end our show with Bella reading her powerful speech from her home near Edmonton. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend.
I am Bella Morisseau-Jack. I am from Saddle Lake Cree Nation. I am here to talk to you about Treaty 6. Treaties are agreements between two nations. Treaty 6 is the agreement between the First Nations and the Canadian government, first signed on August 23, 1876. The First Nations were promised education, housing, and health care. They are still waiting. When I lived in Saddle Lake, there were insects crawling on the floor, spiders and spider webs on each corner, and our ceiling would leak. Our basement had black mold, so I was not allowed in my basement. My family did not have a decent home. At Saddle Lake, I attended preschool and daycare. The schools I went to were not well equipped and organized. At the schools, the teachers were not the best teachers. My Kokum told me that my teachers would sometimes ignore me and not treat me well. When I lived in Saddle Lake, I would get sick often because we did not have enough medicine to keep ourselves and our family healthy. The closest place to get medicine was St. Paul. From my house to St. Paul was a very long drive. Today, I live with my papa, my dog, and my brother Cashton. I love living in Clarkdale Meadows in Sherwood Park with my papa. My home is now well made, clean, and contains good food, clean water, and plenty of medicine. We even have a hospital nearby our home. Other First Nation children are not as lucky as me. The conditions I experienced in Saddle Lake is what a lot of First Nations families go through. Treaty 6 is not fair to the First Nations. The First Nations have not received what they were promised in Treaty 6. The First Nations people are still waiting for what they were promised 143 years ago. I'm Bella Morisseau-Jack. I'm one of many proud and strong members of Saddle Lake Cree Nation who have walked these lands for thousands of years. I will not allow my people and the problems they face to be ignored any longer. Thank you.